My name's Tim Keating, and I run a company called Earthbilt. I supply green building materials. Yeah, I supplied the flooring to the Brighton Green project, and it was reclaimed oak. The material, it's kind of an interesting story, as with a lot of reclaimed materials, but the material originally was used for I guess shipping pipeline, basically, on train cars. So all the wood around the pipes to hold them inside the train car was really where the material was originally used. And then, of course, yeah, as with a lot of reclaimed wood, they were basically going to trash it and it's heading to a landfill. So we were able to reclaim that material and turn it into flooring, and it's really, really beautiful. I mean, it has excellent character. It's got some nail holes in there and other character marks to show that it was actually used before, and I think it really came out very nice. Well, I wasn't involved too much, but just basically introduced to Robert by his daughter, and brought into the project that way. And my experience was very positive working with them. I mean, Robert, this I think is somewhat of a new venture for him to make a building this green, and so like anything that new, you're going to have some growing pains. But we were, I'm able to supply the material. It took some time before the material was actually going in. We were talking to Robert maybe about a year before we actually delivered on the material, and so for him, I'm sure it's been a very long process. But it's so exciting because we've got the very first commercial building making Living Building Challenge in New York City, and I'm really, really proud to be a part of that. Well, I think that has more to do with the underlayment beneath the floor than the wood, the actual wood. I mean, what we've given them is basically pretty conventional, 3/4 inch tongue and groove flooring, and so in terms of the sound qualities, it's not going to really be much different than any other flooring. But I know that they've done some things in terms of not just the sustainable aspects of the building, but other things as well, design-wise, and the underlayment in order to, deaden the sound is one of the things that. But there's so many. I mean, they I'm sure other people can tell you more about that than I can, but I'm extremely impressed with what they've done to make that building sustainable. Oh yeah, I've been supplying materials to architects and others for a while, including now. It looks like I won't say we're going to get the job, but I've been working toward being able to supply the New York City parks for part of the Coney Island Boardwalk. So and having worked on that in another capacity to try to get Parks Department to shift to green materials, it's literally been almost a 20-year process, and so that's very exciting for us to see. And New York City is now becoming kind of a hotbed of green construction. So I've worked with a number of architects and designers at this point. So it's cool. I don't think anything is as, other than the boardwalk, as high profile as what Robert has done here in terms of the certifications of the other projects that people have worked on. But certainly I've supplied materials into LEED certified buildings before, but I think this is so much better. Living Building far and away is better than LEED certification, so this is very exciting. I think there is a revolution going on, yeah. And it's interesting because it's absolutely essential. I mean, I think something like 40% of the energy used in the United States goes, as throughput in our buildings, and also, from my point of view, my biggest concern has been the destruction of other ecosystems to produce these materials that go into buildings. And certainly, when you look at building construction, and if you can include things like infrastructure, I think that's far and away, even more so than energy, even though that's gotten most of the attention. I'm a materials person, and the research that I've done in terms of the impact on forest ecosystems and to produce the amount of destruction that goes on to produce, in some cases, very little material, and then these materials are being used. I just came from another project I'm working with the architect on, and very pleased that we're going to use some green materials in outside in the fence and areas like that. But walking through the house, Western red cedar, and they've got an ipe deck upstairs, and these are the impact of these materials is actually, from the research I've done, far and away more or greater impact, negative impact on the world than even, say, the petroleum that's going into the energy consumption of a building, even if you look at a building over a 20-year life cycle. So, this is something that is my angle of working on this, adding into this revolution that's taking place, and I hope that people really start to embrace the materials going into these buildings as much as they've been looking at the energy consumption, which has, without a doubt, gotten much more attention, say, in the last decade. Now, finally, I think we're starting to see the green building industry expanding their opening up those blinders a little bit, just to embrace materials going into these buildings as well. And I think that's really important, because I think in terms of throughput, it's probably the largest throughput in the U.S. in terms of materials consumption, which then translates into the largest impact we have on the world's ecosystem. From my point of view, I mean, there certainly, when you talk about quality of life, most people think about just how it is to live in the building, and I take a broader view, and my own quality of life is so much more involved in my activities and how I feel about my impact in the world. And so I just know how I would feel living in a building that's so green. That really adds to a sense that one has of connection to the rest of the world. And I think that is undersold in terms of quality of life in this country. People think about, they talk about healthy buildings syndrome and things like this, where people's quality of life in terms of the chemicals they're breathing, or whether or not they can hear the neighbors and things like that. And those are all important things, and I know from my own personal experience living in the city for so long, those are important things. But as well, having a sense that one's impact has been reduced on the rest of the world, so you can feel good, kind of alleviate that guilt factor, that really adds to one's quality of life, in my opinion, and from my experience. So that's part of what I think Brighton Green can offer to people, and I'm happy to have played a role in that. I was eyeing at least two of the apartments, with this thought that why wouldn't it be nice? But it's kind of out of my own personal price range. But I would love to live in that building. Yeah, I think there's so many aspects of it that are really cool, including the views, But I mean, the solar panels on the roof, the energy costs are going to be low, and all sorts of things, and community room and things like that are really, really great amenities that can help knit the residents together. And that is so important, especially in a city environment, where typically, I lived in 2 apartment buildings, one of them a 50-unit building, and I didn't even know my neighbors on the same floor. We never spoke. The only people we spoke to were the people that lived upstairs from us. But how many people live in this city and don't even knock on their neighbors' doors. So this is really important to have things like a community room so that the residents can start to interact in ways and that's a real enhancement of quality of life. When you know your neighbors and you can feel comfortable and secure, and even if you were to hear sounds coming from another apartment, hey, that's Bill and Jane, and that's cool. Oh, they're having a good time, or their kids are having a good time, or whatever. If you know the people, it really changes one's attitude in terms of interacting with your neighbors, both in what would be a good way, and also if people consider hearing noise a bad way. I think that it's very, very important that people are able to be introduced to each other and get to know each other. And I think that what I've seen with Brighton Green, not to mention just the talking points to start conversation. Hey, what do you think about this reclaimed flooring? Or what do you think about, to be able to check what the solar panels are doing as you walk into into the common area of your apartment building. Wow, that's really cool. So there are a lot of things I think that are really positive about this building, and I very much appreciate it and applaud Robert and his team for pulling this off. It's been quite a challenge, and when they say living building challenge, that's exactly what it is, because it was not easy to pull all these elements together. So power to them, and congratulations. And it's going to be very exciting to see the media around this and the awareness that's built. What is possible in terms of constructing a commercial apartment building in the city and having it be sustainable. Just that, Earthbilt is thrilled to be able to have played a role in bringing about the Brighton Green, and that we certainly, any other architects that look at this and are interested in greening their next project, we'd love to work with people, and I'm very excited to work with Robert into the future as well. This was a great experience for us, and very happy that he chose our product. I mean, there are a lot of people selling reclaimed wood out there, but I think we have a way of working in terms of service and knowing the material that lends us a unique aspect, and so I'm just thrilled to move forward and look forward to the next project.